Yep, I know.
And you are live.
Thank you very much, Becca.
No, I kind of left him.
Today is Wednesday, December 15th, 2021. My name is Sheila Raymond. I'm the chairperson of the library board. I call this meeting to order at 3:31. We'll do a roll call. Chair Sheila Raymond, present. Vice Chair Janet Smigelski. Present. Board member Sam Campana.
I did see Sam on the call. She might be muted.
Present.
Okay.
Present.
Sheila Collins. That's fine. Sheila Collins is absent. Frida Hartman.
Present.
Fred Klein.
Here.
Marna McClendon. Present. Great. Okay, with that, we have public comment. Next item on the agenda. Do we have anybody who's?
We sure do not.
We do not. Okay. Moving on, we have the minutes to approve the regular meeting minutes from November 17th, 2021. Does anyone have any additions or corrections to make on those minutes?
I move to accept the minutes.
Make sure you say.
Janet Smigelski.
Okay, I got a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Fred Klein seconds. And do a roll call vote. Chair Sheila Raymond. Aye. Vice Chair Janet Smigelski.
Aye.
Board member Sam Campana.
Aye.
Rita Hartman.
Aye.
Fred Klein.
Aye.
Marna McClendon. Aye. Okay, with that, motion passes. So we are on to the patron comment report. You have a copy of the patron comments in the folder. This is Chair Peters, Library Director, Community Service Administrator, will present and discuss library patron comments in the monthly report to the board. This is a topic for information and discussion.
Thank you very much, Chair Raymond. So again, less comments than what we're used to, which has kind of been turning into a recent trend. But two of the things that I wanted to point out were there were a couple comments at the beginning about people being happy with the library, specifically with the story time programs, which is always very popular. So as we get ready to continue to expand, to restore library hours of operation, fully open, this is something that the public really appreciates and relies on, is that programming for youth, something that's really been, in my opinion, missing for the community. So it's nice to see that. The other two that stood out to me that I wanted to reference is you can see there are citizens who are missing some of our content, you know, Morningstar, some of the magazines. We're starting to hear that feedback from our community. So library staff is always very respectful. They're very good at explaining what's happening, but that did stick out to me as two pretty important parts of the comment reports this time around for the program. Janet?
Yeah, I actually wrote that down as a point, because it seems to me there is a concern with our adult community. And I think we can never lose touch that we have adult patrons. You know, their needs need to be addressed also. And this is putting Becky on the spot. Becky, how much does Value Line cost? Guesstimate.
Becky Galvin Butler, the last year that we subscribed, it was about $14,000 a year. It's very, very popular and it's very expensive. And every year our databases generally go up from 3 to 5%. Sometimes we can negotiate a better price, but they're not in the library market per se. And so they're not, They don't have a huge incentive to negotiate a great price for us.
Well, let me ask you this, Becky, should the library incur some additional funds in the future? How difficult would it be to start the subscription again?
Well, it's all funding based.
Right. So let's say we had the
if we had the funds, it's a matter of paying the invoice and we could get started quickly. We do have Morningstar, which is a similar service. I do want to point that out. It's not that we don't have something similar, but it's not equivalent. And there's people who love Value Line, and they don't want to move over to something else. So,
Sure, absolutely. As an ex-librarian,
yes.
I know the
you
value of
that.
value line.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a very popular resource. It is available at some other libraries, but we wanted to provide the services our patrons need here at our library as opposed to referring them to elsewhere, but we do at times refer them elsewhere when we don't have what they're looking for.
Value line to me is a real staple of a library. To me, it's just a staple because there are a lot of people that use it. And there's a lot of older patrons that grew up using
Right.
the
It's-
paper copy.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It is the most well-known resource for that area, yes.
So I would hope, and I'll just end with this, that should we ever come into some money, that would be a priority consideration.
That would be something we consider,
Okay,
yes.
great. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Becker Cox from the booth has their hand up.
Okay.
Hey.
Go ahead.
I just want to let you guys know the papers that are rattling around and maybe opening up some stuff. It's making it a little hard to understand some people. So
Sure.
just as a heads up.
Thank you, Becca. I know, and we're new to this technology. I should have mentioned that the speakers.
Oh,
or the
you're
microphones
good.
Are right on the table. Thank you for letting us know that, Becca.
Yeah, that's why I'm listening. And I know you guys have new technology and this is a whole new thing we're all getting used to.
Okay, thank you.
Let's make that a little softer, huh?
Martin McClendon?
Becky, can you tell me in the past, how was it used? Do we have any statistics to show its usage? We know it's $14,000 a year.
Yes, it was used very heavily. It was very heavily used, value line. So it was a difficult decision, and unfortunately, sometimes that we have to make those difficult decisions, but it is very popular. Morningstar is popular as well, but value line cost per usage is much higher, or cost, I should say, not necessarily cost per usage, but cost is much higher for value line versus Morningstar. And so we chose to eliminate the one that was more expensive because Morningstar is far more affordable.
And is there any quantification that we have in the past on usage?
Yes, we keep track of logins, searches, cost per use. I have all that data for every year that we've used it. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, so if we had to go back and show its usage, we could easily do that then with it. Great,
Yes.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. Anyone else? We have a hand raised remotely.
No hands.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. The next item on the agenda. Thank you, Kara. Is the director's report. Chair Peters, Library Director, Community Service Administrator, will provide the library board with a summary of current events in the library. A reminder, this is a information only agenda item. The board cannot discuss or vote on items not on the agenda, including items brought up as the director's report. If discussion or action by the board is required, the item should be placed on an upcoming meeting agenda to be consistent with the Arizona open meeting law. So Kira, if you would.
Thank you very much, Chair Raymond. And before I jump into what we have on the screen, I did want to make sure to take time to introduce a new face in the room, which is Miss Carly Stock, who is the library's new administrative secretary. She started, I think, the week of 11/22. She has been learning very quickly. I am very grateful myself, along with the senior team. This is a position that is very helpful to the library system. So welcome, Carly, and she will be helping me be liaison with all of you. Mostly Carly will be doing the correspondence with the library board, helping with the technology. So I just wanted to introduce Carly officially as part of the director's report. The other item that I neglected to put in the slides is that, and it's important, is that Scottsdale Public Library is now offering COVID test kits out to the community for free. So this is something that has been, it's relatively new. Mandy has been working with Maricopa County. In a quick nutshell, what that is basically the county provides us testing kits The city of Scottsdale, the library, we are just a conduit to get test kits into the community's hands. It is for free. It is limited. Our inventory is limited based on what we receive from the county. We're not public health professionals, and we're very clear on that. The way that the public can access those free test kits is they have to do it through one of our contactless service opportunities. So you cannot walk into a library to pick one up. At Civic Center Library, you do curbside, you pull up, you call and say that that is what you would like. The other branches, you can get them through the drive-through. They do not require a library card. We do not want to track. We don't want to mingle into health. So they really are just free. And we can certainly talk about this at a future meeting if we want to get more in depth. But I did want to let the board know we have been careful about marketing because, as you can imagine, there is a value to these test kits. They run about $25 if you were to get them at a Walgreens or a CVS. So we did have some concerns about a mad rush to the library to get test kits. But right now, things have been going along. We did a social media post to let the community know. So it's just a really nice service. And I thought very important for me to mention this director's report. So that's one thing that is not showing up on the report. So now I'll.
Here, excuse me, did you want to mention the travel?
Right, thank you very much. One thing that is important to note is that these COVID tests are not valid for travel. So you can't take one of these tests, which a lot of community is looking for, that you go to the airport, you need to show a negative COVID test. These kits do not qualify under that parameter. Thank you, Becky. It's important to know, and for the community to know that as well. With that, I will now refer to the screen that is being shared right now. When I was developing the agenda along with Chair Raymond, we really just were at the ending of the year, and we both thought it would be important just to have a summary of acknowledgments that the library system has accomplished. The fine free, which we know the pandemic has overshadowed. We, as a senior library team, want to do a better job in this new year of promoting that fact out to our community. The Pegasus virtual branch, along with a lot of other virtual opportunities, has been something we've done. The curbside here at Civic Center continues to be popular, even though the branch is open. Having online library card renewals, our virtual all-staff conference has been very successful. The library card campaign, which now I think we're up to 3,000 plus new library card holders, significant and wonderful. The outdoor programming and how successful that's been. So even despite the pandemic and that being a nice opportunity to offer programming, probably something that we will continue on, even if we hope we get through this pandemic at some point. It's been very popular. And of course, the Pony Express service at Appaloosa Library, where patrons can enter without library staff on the floor. And another thing that we're very proud of, the library deployments, how much the public library staff supported other departments in the city and supported our community getting through COVID. So just a little summary of acknowledgements there to keep fresh in everybody's mind. At our last meeting, board member Sam Campana brought up a question about demographics in the library. So I wanted to touch on that. Really, demographics in the library, we do not collect demographic data when we have people sign up for a library card. Basically, name, date of birth, your address. So we do not go beyond that purposely. So that's the content that we have. And I just wanted to share that, make sure that Sam heard that so that you knew it's not like we can pull a big report to find out race, ethnicity, things of that nature. We can do age, we can do zip codes, but other than that, on purpose, we do not collect any other demographic data. One thing about, you're very welcome. This is something as we get ready to launch a community survey for our upcoming updated strategic plan, we can ask some of those questions, and we're working through the most appropriate way to do that moving forward.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Construction updates. Basically, the two significant projects happening are the Storytime Room, or Sky Room as it's going to be called. Mandy and Aaron Jones, branch manager here at Civic Center, have been regularly attending those meetings. The Sky Room project is on track. Goal is to have that project complete by March of 2022. Construction is moving right along. We've been very happy with it. It'll be wonderful to have that done. I'll continue to keep the board updated with that. The other item that has, it's really pretty significant to the library and to the city, is the construction on Civic Center Mall area, which if you drive by, you can see they are working hard to have that complete by January of 2023 to be ready for the Super Bowl. So that is something that is happening construction-wise as well. Moving on, hiring and a January reopening. We have now identified January 10th is the day that Scottsdale Public will be fully operational, what that means. And I put a handout in each of your folders on what those restored library hours of operations are, in case any community members ask you. I want to say from memory, it is 10 to 7. We keep it consistent, but if you look in your folder, it should be one of the last pieces of paper in there. Building hours for all branches, Monday through Thursday, 10 to 7, Fridays and Saturdays, 10 to 5, Sunday, 1 to 5. Then we will continue with drive-through and curbside for all branches, Monday through Thursday, 10 to 6, Friday and Saturday, 10 to 5, Sunday, 1 to 5. This, of course, will be on the website.
And I will modify drive-through for 3 of the branches, curbside for 1. So not all branches are going to offer drive-through and curbside.
Right, correct. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mandy.
So we are excited to get the library system back up and opening. And I think specifically, Mandy, too, is Mustang, which has been, that's been a very popular branch. It'll be nice January 10th to have that fully open and operational. The last item, I believe, in the director's report is the decision package. And I just wanted to give the library board an update on the decision package. As reference, the library system did submit a decision package request as part of the budget process, requesting the restoration of the library materials budget in the amount of $550,000. I did talk to the budget office today, and we're still so early in budget development that those decision packages are still under review. So I want to say that I'm confident that the library is going to receive some funding back. I don't know if it'll be the 550, but it is still too soon to provide any information out on how that goes. As the library board, I think, is very well aware, because we've been talking a lot about budgets and timelines. The budget isn't officially, they really start talking about that later on as we get into the spring. So if I hear anything otherwise, I will certainly report. And I do want to say that that is the conclusion of the director's report. So thank you, Chair Raymond.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is to vote on the revised bylaws. Everyone has received a copy of the revised bylaws. Anyone listening online, if you don't have a copy on your own, there is a copy online attached to the agenda. Chair Peters, Library Director, Community Service Administrator, will present the amended and recently reviewed library board bylaws and ask for board approval. The amendments to the library board bylaws relate to the officers and rules and regulations of the library board, allowing the library board's chairperson to succeed themselves for 1 consecutive year term if voted on and approved by the library board, and other cleanup changes. This is a topic for information, discussion, and action, which would be a roll call vote. With that, Kira?
Thank you very much, Chair Raymond. So we had a lot of discussion on this, and I also sent out some email correspondence after talking to the city attorney, whose recommendation, after hearing some of the questions, really did think that these bylaws were accurate, very well reflective in what we want to do. Really, with the most significant change important to the library board and library staff was the ability for the library board chair to be able to succeed themselves, which also puts us in line and more consistent with other library boards and commissions. So I would actually recommend that the library board vote and approve these bylaws as written here in the clean copy version.
This is Janet Smigelski. I have a question. Once we vote, and if it is approved, then will it be, is there a next step, or is it done?
It'll go into effect. So in January,
okay.
it'll go into effect.
Okay,
Yeah, because we
that's what I
already
was
changed,
trying
the ordinance change has already been approved through city council. Then the library board, votes to approve the bylaws. It is in effect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Raymond.
Rita has her hand up too.
Who does?
Frida?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. I have a question about section 3.1, officers and elections. And when we had a discussion on this one last time, that last sentence in the first paragraph there, the last sentence on that page, is the one where there was a question. We talked about what happens if an individual fills a partial term. Is that person eligible to succeed themselves for 1 additional term? And that's in reference to the sentence right before where there is a vacancy and so forth. And I don't see that issue addressed. So the issue was, we have the term, we have the words used, officers who have served a full term of office may succeed themselves. Can officers who have served a partial term also succeed themselves, but only for one additional term?
Rita, this is Kira Peters. The answer to that is yes, they can. So if they just did partial, that does not count as a full term. So they would be able to succeed themselves for a full term.
So I think that the question there was that was the little bit, that was not understood in the current language. And the current language appeared to say that only those who have served a full term in office may succeed themselves. So the question is, can we make some adjustment to reflect the true intention here, which is that both someone who has served a full term and someone who has served a partial term, both may succeed themselves, but only for one additional term. Otherwise, the language here is, really is not inclusive of that person who serves a partial term.
Board Member Hartman, this is Kira Peters, and I would have to double check this, and I could send out via email. When I talk with the city attorney, remember that the bylaws are a piece of the city ordinance, and the ordinance language covers a lot more in depth than the bylaws. And if I am remembering correctly, I believe the ordinance does address that. I can double check that for sure. But I do know that the city attorney was very comfortable with the way that this was written as it relates and complements the city ordinance. So I can certainly, if through the direction of the board, look into that a little bit further before you can approve. I certainly can. Our city attorney is Kim Campbell. She is very thorough and comprehensive. I would really respect her recommendation that these are good as they stand, and she definitely reviews the ordinance as well. But I could certainly, just for clarification, send that information out.
Well, I know that that was a concern I brought up, and while there may be some other language in the ordinance that doesn't appear in these bylaws that may cover that, it's fine, but it's not here. And what's here in our bylaws doesn't really seem to address the partial term issue. So if we could just find a way to get clarity around that, I think that would be a good direction for us, because these are our bylaws.
Marna McClendon?
Yes, thank you. Although I appreciate the concern, my reading of bylaws would indicate that it's not trying to add it as a requirement that there be a full term served. And I'm very comfortable that now it's been reviewed again by our city attorney, and that a reading of the bylaws, and if we ever needed the legal clarification, it's clear that if you failed to serve a full term, it doesn't mean then that you can't now succeed yourself again. So I am comfortable that the review has been granted on that issue and comfortable with the language.
Okay, Kira, did you want to add something?
I was really going to echo really what Board Member McClendon said. To me, it is clear, but that is to me, and it's probably because I've worked with the city attorney reviewing this several times as it compares to the ordinance as well. So that would be my comment.
This is Janet Smigelski. I agree with Marna's comment.
Okay. So can I get a motion to vote on the bylaws as they are written?
Morna McClendon, I would move the bylaws be adopted by the library board as presented in today's draft.
Okay, can I get a second?
I second that, Janet Smigelski.
Okay, with that, let's do a roll call vote. Chair Raymond, aye. Vice Chair Janet Smigelski.
Aye.
Board Member Sam Campana. Sam Campana.
Might be on mute. Yeah. I think she might have to do it herself, huh?
Yeah. This is Commissioner Campana. I vote.
I didn't hear your vote, Sam.
This is Commissioner Campana. I voted aye.
Okay. Frida Hartman.
I'm going to vote no.
Fred Klein,
Aye.
Marty McClendon. Aye. With that, the motion does pass. Next item on the agenda is the board letter to council on library budget. In your packet, your agenda packet, you do have a copy of the draft letter to council. You also have a copy of the fine-free letter to council, which was written by Teresa Pauley on behalf of the library board and was submitted on January 10th of 2020. Chair Raymond, Sheila Board, sorry. Okay, Sheila Raymond, Library Board Chair, will lead a discussion about the board-driven draft of a recommendation letter to City Council as a result of discussions at the November 2021 meeting. The budget is in its preliminary stages of development. The board can determine if sending the recommendation would be more appropriate now or after more review has been completed. Information, discussion, and possible action, which would be a roll call vote. Before we get into this, I need to make a couple of comments. First of all, this letter is a draft that was written by me, reviewed by Sheila Collins, as was noted in the November meeting. And I also had Vice Chair Janet Smigelski review the letter. I realize that Sheila Collins is not present. I do have her email comment if anybody wants to know what that is, but basically she supported the letter and thought that it was sufficient. This is not a letter that was written just pulling numbers out of the air. I do have all of my sources here with me. This, however, is a situation where we need to vote on the letter today. If changes are made to this letter, then the timing is that it would have to be moved and then voted on in January. And then that would have to then be decided then. So what we need to look at, I want to point out a few things before we get into any potential discussion. We were talking about the, Kara mentioned the timing of the decision package. If you were present at the June 16, 2021, library board meeting, we did have Brian Bundy with us to discuss how the process works. The timing of this is very important. If you recall, and I have a copy of it here in front of me, and I realize you may not have a copy in front of you, but I will tell you, November and December, the operating budget development and decision packages are requested and they're reviewed. So that's what the library staff has done. They're submitting their package. Then in January and February, the capital and operating budgets are reviewed by the city manager and divisions. Upon completion of the assessment, the city manager makes the final decision on which packages and CIPs move forward. Remind you, January, February, these decisions are being made. March and April, proposed budgets are released with public meetings and council reviews. May, June, the tentative budget, which will not increase, along with the rates and fees, are adopted in May. The final budget, which can be reduced if necessary, is approved in June. So those dates are important. So if we're talking about moving something forward, we need to keep those dates in mind. And also keep in mind, we did have discussions about this letter being drafted. I think it's important that we look at those timelines. So with that, and knowing that the others were involved, does anyone have any comments? Keep in mind, we are not workshopping the letter at this time. We cannot make a lot of things. The vote is, do you want this letter to be sent to council? There will be two votes on this topic. One, do you want this letter going? And two, when do you want this letter to go? So let's separate that out and talk first about this letter. And with that, I open it up. Fred?
Yeah, it's Fred Klein. I have two suggestions and changes of wording. And, I don't know why this has to set us back a month to change a couple of words. I mean, this is not the Congress of the United States. I think we can do what we want a little bit more expeditiously. The first paragraph of the second page, library board, negative reduction is redundant. And whether it's for emphasis or not, it still doesn't look good. And at the end of that sentence, I would like to add that has taken place, the words that has taken place despite that resolution, which ties them together and makes it stronger, I think. So the sentence would read, the library board is saying this letter advises you of the reduction to the budget that has taken place despite that resolution. And later on in the next paragraph, closure is not the right word. A closure is a temporary closing, like a off-ramp of a highway. The Palomino branch has been closed. So I would change that to closing.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Marna McClendon?
I tend to think Fred is correct in that if there are some minor changes, any motion going forward could recognize those changes and move it forward today. So I think Fred is right that we're still able to perhaps make some adjustments. I tend to think his comments are sound changes. I appreciate the work that went into this, and I appreciate that you added not just the fine-free aspect, but that the whole materials collection and budget reduction. I really feel that this is in the right context. And I know that any letter like this is not easy to do, and I very much appreciate the work that you did on it.
Thank you.
I do too, by the way. It's a very impressive piece of work.
Thank you, Fred. Mandy?
This is Mandy. I will say, just for consideration, that there's precedent that policies brought forward have passed or the board has approved pending the exact changes, in case you want to consider that for this.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was going to ask Kira if there was any precedent to that.
I have a comment, Janet Smigelski. First of all, I do like Fred's comments, your changes. I think that, and I do agree with Marna that these can be added in, as Mandy said, so we can move forward those. I think we should repeat again how we're making those changes, just to make sure they're on the record so the letter will be corrected. I think this is a very impressive letter. I was at the Friends meeting yesterday. A couple of the friends had seen this already, and the rest of them asked Kira to send them a copy. Mary Wilburn comment on what a wonderful job this letter was. She was very, very impressed and wanted friends to let the board know that they were very, very appreciative of that. And
Decode it.
the friends are supportive of this letter.
Great.
And they're looking forward to seeing what we do today with it. So I think we have a lot of support behind us.
And just a point of to mention, the additional about the materials budget was something that was brought forward in the November meeting to be included in this letter. So that's why it is included in the letter. Does anyone have their hand raised?
Frida does.
Frida?
I do. Yes, thank you. First of all, I want to commend the team who contributed toward this letter. It's a very good letter, and I recognize the need for it and the timing being so important. So really a good job. A couple of comments I would have on this letter. I do agree with the comment made about on the second page, first paragraph, the term negative reduction is it's something that needs to be changed because that's double negative there. So that one, and then also on page 1, the section that is in red font, added the second paragraph there. I would like to suggest to include in this paragraph that we're sending this letter to express our concern regarding the negative funding issues facing the Scottsdale Public Library system, and really set it out there up front that we are concerned about it. And so the rest of the letter flows from that. And likewise in the, on the second page on the section on materials collection budget, this is going to be the third paragraph. which starts, the SPL staff is in the final stages of submitting. So the second sentence there, I would suggest that we state very clearly that the library board members agree with this request, the request being from the SPL staff in the first sentence. They are requesting that the materials budget be restored. So in the second sentence, that would read more strongly that the library board members agree with this request and are hoping and the rest can remain the same. So I think it's just coming out and just stating a very solid position outcome that we are taking on this. But other than that, I really like the letter.
Thank you, Frida. Anyone else?
Well, this is Janet Smigelski. I'm confused with what Frida said, because the item on the first page, if the library votes to approve the sending of this letter, we as the sitting library board vote total on December 15 to send this letter regarding the negative funding issues facing the Scottsdale Public Library. I think that expresses our concern. So I don't know why anything additional needs to be put in that. Maybe I'm just not missing the point. But the point is we are concerned about the negative funding. So I don't know if anything needs to be added to this. I just don't know.
This is Sheila Raymond. Frida, what is your recommendation as to wording on that, as you suggested the change?
Yes, I think that we understand that what we're trying to say is that we're concerned. So my comment was in the context of why not just say it? We are concerned. We want to express our concern about the negative funding issues and just say that up front. Otherwise, what we're saying in this sentence is we as the sitting library board on December 15th, 2021, send, I guess it says vote to send this letter to City Council regarding the negative funding. So it's just taking a stronger position that then is picked up in the rest of the letter. That's the point of it, is all.
I hear what you're saying, Frida. Can you repeat what you would like, excuse me, I'm sorry, what you would like the wording to appear as, so we can make sure it's on there for a vote? So if you could one more time clarify.
Okay, so we as the sitting library board, and the vote total in there, on December 15th, 2021, send this letter to express our concern to City Council regarding the negative funding issues facing the Scottsdale Public Library system.
So you would like to add after December 15th, 2021, you would like to the addition of to express our concern to
Yes,
City Council.
yes, yes,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had it clarified, Rita, so I could write it
Yes.
down.
That's good.
yes.
Okay,
Thank you, Frida.
thank you, Frida.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
No, I think we should try to summarize.
Yes, I'm
These-
the
okay.
changes.
Super.
So if I'm not right, excuse me, if I have not written it down correctly, please let me know so that we can move forward. The paragraph that, yes, Fred.
The question is, the red paragraph is the one that's really in it?
And the first
The
paragraph would
first
go
bit
away.
will go away,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Okay, so looking at your draft letter, your copy of the draft letter, the first paragraph where it starts, we as a sitting library unanimously voted on November 17th. That paragraph would go away. It would be replaced with we as the sitting library board with the vote total, which has not yet been determined. We've not voted. On December 15th, 2021, to express our concern, is that correct? To send this letter to city, send this letter to express our concern to City Council regarding the negative funding issues facing the Scottsdale Public Library system. Is that correct, Frida?
Yeah, it's to send this letter to express our concern to city council regarding the negative funding issues, et cetera.
Thank you.
After,
And I did-
express our concern should go after letter rather than to city council.
Yes,
Yes,
Sentence letter to city
Okay.
council to express our concern.
that's fine.
send this
Okay,
letter to city council
Yeah.
to express.
to express our concern over the
Okay, so-
negative. blah,
So
blah.
note that the addition of to express our concern is going to be put in after city council,
Yeah,
prior to regarding. Everybody have that?
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you, Frida.
Mhm.
Next item that was recommended is the paragraph on the second page. The library board is sending this letter to advise you of the, and then removing the word negative. So it would read, this letter to advise you of the reduction to the SPL budget. The addition would also include that has taken place despite that resolution. I'll repeat that. So after the SPL budget, the addition would be that has taken place despite that resolution. Okay? And then going into item 2, materials budget collection in the first paragraph, last sentence, the word closure of Palomino branch be changed to closing of the Palomino branch. So again, closure would be removed and changed to closing of Palomino branch. Okay, and then additionally, in the paragraph, let's see, third paragraph of item 2, the sentence, the SPL staff is in the final stages of the fiscal year 22-23 decision package, and they're requesting that the materials budget be restored. The following sentence change suggestions would be, the library board members agree with this request and are hoping for the support of the entire city council. So the addition would be after the word members in the final sentence there. The library board members addition would be agree with this request and are hoping for the support of the entire city council. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Any additions, discussion? So the first thing that we're going to vote on is this the letter we want to send?
as amended.
As amended. Thank you for the clarification, Fred. Marna,
I move that we send the letter as originally drafted by Chair Raymond and as amended during our discussion today to the city council.
I'll second that.
Fred Hartman, I'm sorry. Fred Klein seconds. Sorry about that. I really am.
Roll call vote.
Okay, so with that, let's do a roll call vote. Thank you, Janet. And this is the vote of the letter, period, at this point. So with that, Chair Sheila Raymond, aye. Vice Chair Janet Smigelski.
Aye.
Board Member Sam Campana.
Aye.
Frida Hartman,
Aye.
Fred Klein,
Aye.
and Marta McClendon.
Aye.
Okay, with that, the motion passes that this is the letter we send. Now the issue is, when do we send it? I did explain to you, as was explained to us in June, about the timing of this package and when the budget process moves forward. Keep in mind, we do not meet again until the third week of January. However, a decision can be made in this meeting for a date to submit. Okay, so with that, does anyone have a recommendation? I would say there are really two choices. If you're going to vote to send this letter, would be you either going to send it now or you're going to send it later. So we need to break this apart. So I think the first motion or the first idea is, do we send this now? And this would be another topic for discussion. Does anyone agree or disagree with sending it now?
I'll move that.
I'll second that.
Okay.
The changes are stenographic. There shouldn't be any problem.
Yeah.
So that someone can retype the letter.
And I would
I
do that.
agree with that. This is Frida Hartman. I think we can make these few changes quickly and send the letter as soon as possible.
Marta McClendon?
And is the only concern about sending it now just to look at it again? Or is there something else I'm not thinking about that we'd want to wait?
I think, this is Janice Smigelski, I think the only issue is, and you can go, well, maybe this or maybe that, we don't know. Would the council be more receptive in December? Would they be in January? Well, who knows? Who really knows? And I say time is of the essence. And the worst thing I think that could happen if you wait till January and then they can't get, our issue can't be put on the docket because it's too full. If it's too full in December, then we will get a spot in January. But if we wait till January, we might get bumped to February and then it could be too late. So I say, let's move forward. That's my personal opinion, but that's what I'm. Yeah.
Chair Raymond, I just wanted to recognize that I think the East Driver person may have their hand raised. Lisa, is that you? Do you have a comment?
I have a question regarding who seconded Fred's motion.
Sorry, Lisa, you've got a lot of feedback going on. I believe it was Fred who made the motion.
Second?
I second. No, I didn't.
Marna second, Fred.
Someone else made the motion.
Marna made the motion and Fred
I
seconded.
seconded.
And then
That was the first one. Is this for this?
That's the
Okay.
second one.
And now we're on the second one. Who made the first motion? Was that you, Frida?
I made a motion, yes.
Okay, and then Fred second?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lisa, does that make sense to you? I know that's a lot.
So the motion that was made to send the letter now, I know Fred made the motion, but I didn't hear who seconded it.
I did. You're involved.
It's not a big deal.
No, it's not.
Two names down in the order.
I believe it was, I thought it was.
I'm sorry, you're all talking over one another and you can't hear.
I thought it was Sam Campana who seconded it. I was trying to recognize voices.
Lisa, this is Kira. I'm going to have the live.
Lisa needs to mute.
Lisa, can you put your computer, can you put your stuff on mute? We're getting a lot of feedback. I don't know if that's the reason why.
Figured this out.
Let's see if that's, sorry about that, Lisa. We were getting a lot of feedback. I'm going to have the library board chair, Sheila Raymond, review both of these things nice and slowly and clearly so that you can write it down and we're not all talking. So Chair Raymond, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Kira. So the first motion that was put to the board for a vote was regarding the letter as amended. That motion was made by Marna McClendon and was seconded by
Me, I think.
Fred.
If anyone else would like to, it'd be okay. too.
I believe it was you. The second item that was motioned was to send this letter today as amended, and that motion was made by,
I think this is Frida. I made a motion to send it as soon as possible. I think I
Okay.
didn't say today, but as soon as possible.
as soon as possible. Thank you for the clarification, Frida. And it was seconded by
Me, I think.
Fred. Does that help, Lisa? It was Lisa, correct?
Correct.
Yes, that helps. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so with that, we need to do a roll call vote on sending this letter as soon as possible. I will make these changes today and I will send it. I can send it tonight. I mean, tomorrow is fine. Okay.
Tomorrow's fine.
So as soon as possible.
Take a break.
It will go to the mayor and to the city council members entirely. So that is the motion on the board for the board to vote on. So with that.
Chair Raymond, I'm sorry I just wanted to make sure we've got a lot of hands raised. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was taken care of. So.
Their hands are raised.
Yeah, Frida, I see. Okay.
Becca just raised her.
Oh, Becca Cox from
Yeah.
Civic.
I was just gonna say the feedback is if someone has they're listening through a speaker instead of through a headset, that's probably the feedback we're hearing.
Okay, yeah, because it seems to be happening when Lisa, it seemed like that was when Lisa.
Yeah, I heard the feedback, so I hopped back online. I was starting another meeting, but yeah, if you aren't using a headset and you're speaking, that might be the problem.
Thank you, Becca. I see that Lisa has her hand up again.
Yeah.
Okay, is that it?
Sorry, that was a mistake.
No, thank you, Lisa. I know she's got a hard job there.
I know. Yeah. Okay, so it's time for the roll call vote to send this letter as soon as possible. Chair Sheila Raymond, aye. Vice Chair Janice Smigelski.
Aye.
Board Member Sam Campana.
Aye.
Frida Hartman.
Aye.
Fred Klein.
Aye.
And Marna McClendon.
Aye.
With that, the motion passes. Sheila Collins is not present, but for the record, she does support sending this letter. But it's still a vote of 6-0 and 1 not present. That will go in the letter.
Motion carries.
The motion carries. Thank you, Janet.
All right, I have a question. This is Janet Smigelski. Can we, after it's all written and sent, can each of the board members receive a copy of that, please? And I know that.
Shaking her head, yes.
Thank you.
And I know we all would like to see a finalized copy and congratulate ourselves. And I think that there are many people, Kara, as you know, that want to see that final letter. So somehow we need to let some of the people, the friends, know that it's finalized and has been sent. So whenever it becomes public record or whatever, we need to make that aware.
And Board Member Smigelski, I can certainly do that.
Okay, thank you.
This is Kira.
This is,
Well done.
thank
Well
you.
done.
Appreciate it. This is Sheila Raymond. I will make the changes tonight and it will be sent immediately. I will send a copy to Kira and to Carly, and they can disseminate it to the board to comply with the Arizona open meeting law. Okay. Next item on the agenda. And thank you everyone, by the way, for your support. I appreciate it. Identification of future agenda items. The library board may suggest items they wish to be placed on a future agenda, but the library board may not discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter in the identification of future agenda items unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. Information, discussion, and possible action, roll call vote is there. With that, I open it to the floor.
Chair Raymond. Frida has her hand raised.
Frida?
Yes, thank you. So our timing is really excellent for this item that I'm going to suggest here when we included in our letter about the materials collection budget. So collection development is a really important aspect of library operations. And it's complicated, and there are a lot of gears turning and lots of balls in the air. So with that in mind, I'd like to suggest that we consider putting collection development on the agenda on at least for the next few months to reinforce, well, first of all, to address our collective understanding of what the issues are that are coming up and are ongoing, but also to just reinforce having it as an agenda item, our interest and concern about collection development and the materials budget for our library staff and our libraries. So that would be an item that, and I know a lot of other library systems do tend to include that item sometimes on an intermittent basis, but I would suggest maybe we consider it as an agenda item of some regularity across the board as we go forward.
Board Member Hartman, this is Kira Peters, and Becky, I just know that when we're developing the agenda, it's really helpful to really know exactly what you're looking for as we develop a description, and so that Becky and her team know exactly what to present. That's a big topic. I guess it would help me. Becky Gallivan Butler is shaking her head. So if we could be a little bit more specific, we don't have to necessarily do that today. You could certainly let Chair Raymond know that, but that would be helpful for us.
She could also.
You can also let me send it directly to me. That would be helpful for us. Thank you.
Absolutely. And you know, it is a large, complex topic. So this would not be intended to be covered all in one sitting. It could be divided. So we look at different corners of it over time.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
I have a couple.
Excuse me.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't understand. Collection development, collection of what?
The materials.
That's what we call the material.
Library materials,
Not overdue book.
correct. No.
Okay, that ought to be, let's make sure that we get that straight. I wasn't clear about that.
Okay.
Well, we talked, this is Frida Hartman. We talked today about value line. And we talked about some of the resources that we make available to our patrons. And so that would go into a discussion of one aspect of collection development. As an example.
Okay.
I have, this is Janice Smigelski. I have a few other suggestions. I was looking on the calendar, but I didn't see it. I'd like to get an update on the security issues that Mandy discussed at the last meeting about the security guard. If we could have that eventually, whether it's next month or the next month, whatever, I think that would be important. I think we also need to include an agenda item. And I don't know if you want to leave it open-ended or what, but we need follow-up. We need to have an update on the council letter, how it was received, whatever. And we need an update on the decision packet and what's going on and the budget. And so we need to somehow have something on the agenda that gives us the ability to get updates on these outstanding items so they don't drop off. And in terms of Frida's comment about the collection and Fred's comment, the collection materials are very large. You know, there's a lot to it. So to make Becky's job easier to present to us, and I know we've seen it in the past because I just saw it in the annual report, I think, but maybe you want to pick one or two areas or focus, you know, because I would personally like to know the breakdown of a lot of these databases that are high demand. As Martin said, what are the statistics of them, the cost of them, you know, that kind of detail. So we know as you all are dealing with your budget, but why one thing is prioritized over another relating to patrons' comments. You know, because we're not telling you what to do. We're just looking out for the interests of the budget and the patrons.
Okay. Andy?
This is Mandy. I have a clarification for the security agenda item. Would this be like an update on when and how, what the impact is?
I was looking through the notes and things like that. And just as an update, again, another update item.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you, Janet. Anyone else? Anyone have their hand raised? Fred?
Just for my own information, I'd really like to know the criteria for purchases, books, tapes, et cetera. Yes or no? Who's in and who's out and why? Is there someone who's in charge of that who could come and give us a report? I have no idea why the library will buy this book, but not that book.
Board Member Klein, Becky Galvin, but Liz team will be able to answer that and when they give a.
I don't know that there has to be a discussion, but
Fred, we actually have a policy. This is Becky Galvin Butler. We actually have a collection development policy that outlines that maybe we could share, that I believe would.
What it is.
Okay,
questions.
I'll have Carly say.
Yeah.
And why my books aren't more frequent out there. Specifically. It's too late now to do me any good.
Thank you, Fred.
And this is Frida, and just to add on to that, there's this whole other issue section having to do with intellectual freedom, which is separate in and of itself, although, you know, there are some areas that are touch points. So it is a huge topic to tackle. And again, that's why I suggested maybe we consider this over multiple meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Frida. And also clarification that we're not part of that decision-making process, but we want to know who is, how it's done, what your policy is. Is that my understanding? Frida?
Yeah, I mean, this is in our capacity as an advisory, but yeah, it's helping us to understand what the policy is and how, what goes into the decisions, and then the actual nature of the collection. And, what are, as Janet was talking about the data, and we've talked about this before, what constitutes our collection? What's the usage rate? What's the distribution and all the, and those things? How do we measure whether we are providing what is needed by the community, by our patrons? How do we measure the outcomes on that? That would be another issue.
I know it's a big.
Okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is board members' reports. Board members may give a summary of current events, information only. The board cannot discuss or vote on items not on the agenda, including items brought up as board members' reports. If discussion or action by the board is required, the item should be placed on an upcoming meeting agenda to be consistent with the Arizona open meeting law. And before we go into that, Janet, you go to the Friends of the Library board meetings as a representative of the library board. So we'll start with you.
Okay, and I will try to keep this brief. They had their meeting yesterday, which was, right before this one. And the key points I took away, and Kara jumped in here. Kara stated that she was going to be acknowledging the donation by Anna Unterberger for a one-year subscription for the newspaper database. Okay, so that's significant because that is a service that will be available to our patrons. And Anna, as a private citizen, decided to do that because the Friends have made it very clear that they will not be funding anything that has been cut from the budget. That's not their job. Okay, so we need to keep that in mind. I also heard, and I thought this was significant, Melissa is going to be the liaison to the Friends. And please correct me because I couldn't hear everything. There's going to be a calendar that shows what the Friends are doing at the library, or that was briefly discussed and I couldn't catch it all.
What we're going to be doing is I'll be working with them to make sure that whenever they are looking at different events at all the branches, that there's some consistency there, that we're all aware of what's happening, that we kind of have a procedure in place so that everyone's aware and doing the same thing for the different events. We're also looking at how we would be doing marketing, just making sure we're all on the same page. So I'll be working with them in those areas.
Which I think is a very good thing, losing my voice, because the Friends are so active. They have well over 100 members now, and they've reached some of their goals that they set. They have a lot, I'm losing my voice. They have a lot of activities in the pipeline coming up. They're going to be doing a wine event at a gallery at the end in February, and they'll have information. They'll put everything on their website, so I don't want to really go into it. There is an event on the 18th of this month at Scottsdale Quarter. There's a movie going to be shown. They're going to be handing out popcorn and encouraging people to join the Friends, and they're going to continue with Birdies for Charity, which is with the Phoenix Open, and they receive a lot of funds for that, pledges. And then they're going to be marching, I think, this weekend in the Fiesta Bowl. Thanks in part to Melissa helping them out with things. So that's it. They're very, very active, and they were very supportive of our letter to council.
Thank you, Janet. Does anyone else have anything to report as a board? Marna McClendon.
Well, I had a business call on Monday with a scientist in New York City working on the Innocence Project. And she asked about the weather here. And I said how beautiful it was. And she said, well, she has family here. She usually visits Scottsdale for the holidays. And she was sorry she couldn't do that. Somehow I mentioned I was on the library board. And she said, oh, the library. She said, I love going to the library. You tell your members of the board, it's just a wonderful place. And I said, well, where does your family live? She's closest to Arabian, but she said, oh, but I don't just go to Arabian. I go to the other branches. They're so beautiful. And we particularly in the family like going during the holidays with family members because of the children's areas. They're done so well and they're specific and discreet too. So I said, I will share this.
Oh,
I will
thank
share this. It was so lovely to hear this. And I just want to say I did my little holiday visit on behalf of the board yesterday. And I think there are now, by the way, 13 people at Appaloosa. I was surprised. I had a lot of names to write. It was great. So they seemed very pleased and I gave thanks on behalf of the library board to the staff.
Thank you very much, Mona. Appreciate that.
Frida and I dropped off something to the Civic Center staff today. Yeah, so. And I think I personally want to thank everybody on the board and all the staff, because I think we've done a lot this year. You know, in the face of, you know, not the best situations, but I think everyone has really, really worked well together. And so I thank you all.
I agree with that. Fred?
So it shouldn't go unnoted. Sheila Collins got pizza for the Mustang group. We chipped in and she did it. She ordered the pizza and et cetera.
Okay.
Apparently it was well received.
And I dropped off mine for the administration. They have not yet been able to partake, but they will be, I'm sure, tomorrow.
And we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to say thank you as the board chairperson. This board is, oh my gosh, so passionate. I leave these meetings and I go home and my husband knows he has to set aside some time to listen to me because he knows how exciting things are. Our conversations, sometimes they get a little lively. But the bottom line is this, each and every one of us, including the staff present in this room and online, care very much about the Scottsdale Public Library system. That is our driving purpose for being on the board. And so please know that you have our continued support and we will do anything that we can to demonstrate that. So, you know, it's something that we feel very strongly about. With that, we're going to close out. I do want to point out two things. We do have to have the personal interest disclosure form signed before you attend the January meeting. If you bring it with you to the January meetings, we have to have it turned in before the meeting begins because you have to do that. So Carly, if you're present in the room, Carly has provided a copy of that form. I did listen to the video before the meeting today, so I can sign this, but I listened to the video, the annual ethics code training that we have to do. So that's number one. Number two, the January meeting is scheduled for January 19th, 2022. Can you believe it? So please note that in your record there. And that's all that I have for this. So can I get a motion to adjourn today's meeting?
So moved.
Somebody made the motion. Make the motion.
Who moved? I'm sorry.
So moved. Frida.
Frida moved. Okay. And
Yes.
second?
I'll second Janice Migalski.
All right. Janet second. So we'll do a roll call vote. Chair Raymond, aye. Vice Chair Janet Smigelski.
Aye.
Board Member Sam Campana. Sam?
Come on, Sam, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Frida Hartman.
Aye.
Fred Klein.
Aye.
And Marta McClendon. Aye. With that, this meeting is adjourned at 4:39.